So that being said, we've been talking, we know that this market can't last forever with just low-lying fruit all over the place, getting listings and things like that. We're, of course, sale by owners are giving us a lot of competition right now for listings. So we're doing a lot of facilitating with that. But eventually the market does soften up. And if you've been in the business a long time, like Paula down there, hi Paula Clark, you know, Jean, we've all been, most of the people on this call have been in business at least 10 years. We'll just be nice about that, say 10 years plus. So we've seen the highs and the lows of getting listings and things like that. We used to do geographic farming, right? Now it's prospecting. That should always be one part of your business plan, but think of other niches that you want to do. And that's where, that's what I started thinking about today. So what can we do? So the double Ds, and I'm staying neck up, so you don't have to see the double Ds today. I had my Dolly Parton bra all ready to put out, you know, and all that. I thought, no, we filmed that, I may be in trouble forever. So we've got to have fun with it, right? So double Ds, death and divorce, two things in life that are always guaranteed. You're gonna die and your family's gonna be left with this mess, or you're gonna get divorced and then there's another potential mess. But for realtors, those are also good potential markets, because most people, and I got some really interesting stats and I love this. Nationwide, there are 2.5 million Americans that die a year. 2.5 million. So, and if you just divided it, I mean, Florida probably has more than their fair share because of our populations. But if you just kind of divided that, or like by 50, think about it. There's that, and I looked up in some statistics in Lee County. There's like 2,500 a year that die in our area. 2,500 people. So if you figure if they even have a small house at $200,000, that's $500 million worth of real estate. So if you take that at 3% listing, that's $15 million of potential income that could be shared by yourself or other people. That's a really good niche to think about when you start talking about your business planning. And death is probably, the death aspect is probably the easiest one to deal with, because they're easier to find, right? Where do you find them? Have you guys worked with anything like that with people who have passed? You can, obviously, if you read the obituaries, you can find very, very quick. Those are people who've died recently that haven't gone through any court proceedings or things like that. There are realtors out there and there are programs that tell you, go get off the obituary, get on the phone, or show up at the funeral service and offer your services. That's called ambulance chasing. That's called stanky, hard, yucky. We had an agent who actually did that. And I got a call from the relative. This guy is standing outside of the funeral home soliciting us. Tacky, hacky. Don't do that. But you can find lists that are free, and then there's ways you can buy lists. We didn't make screenshots for you, so I'll have to write them down. But if you're interested in buying leads for death leads, you can go to alltheleads.com, successors with an S, data.com, and there's usprobateleads.com. Those are things you can buy, and of course, then they always have scripts and things that you can get along with it. But the biggest place to find it, obviously, is Clerk of the Circuit Court. We're going to see if I can do this. Okay, share my screen. How do I do that? I go to do what?
Can you repeat those websites?
So I'm going to go to here. Oh, look at that, I did it. Okay, can everybody see leeclerk.org?
We can see it, but there was a request for you to repeat those websites.
Okay, usprobateleads.com, and we'll send it out to you as well. Successors, SUCCESORS like Sam, data.com, and alltheleads.com. You can, they may give you a little bit free or whatever, but this is the best way, and it's free. If you go to leeclerk.org and go up into the little search magnifying glass on the upper right, and just type in probate, it's going to take you to this page. Okay. There's a little probate facts page if you want it, but these are all PDF documents. Look at this. So in January, you just click on it. There are 14 pages of people who have passed. Not only do you get the case number, you get the person who passed with their address. We don't really care about who the judge is, but look at this, personal representative address. This is the person who's going to be controlling the estate and making decisions. There's the name and address of this property. You can use the information from this list. It talks about what the amount is, when it has the bond value of what their estate might be worth. So some of the things may not be worth going after, but then you can also take this information and get into Remind and do some research on the properties, because there might be some properties that you are not interested in going after. And when you go on to Remind, it's going to tell you what the state of their mortgages are and things like that. Elderly people may have reverse mortgages on there. So you're going to need to do a lot of homework before you start talking and contacting the relatives or the personal representatives of this. But I think this is a really fantastic tool. It's free. It takes some time to do it. Again, it's researching. So this may be where your assistants or maybe somebody who is a pre-law student at FGCU, they may get a real kick out of doing some things like this, because somebody might be wanting to be a probate attorney. So, find someone to do a lot of this little legwork for you. Questions, comments?
So lead
Interactive.
clerk, and it's court case records, right?
Mm-hmm. All I did was just go up here to search. Just go right from there and just type in probate. That's all you have to do. There's official records and things. If you go to there, that's where you're going to find everything. You're going to find warranty deeds, all of that. So if you just, like, if you're sitting in a coffee shop and you hear somebody talking about somebody dying or somebody getting divorced, you hear that name, you can look in the official records and you can search by their name and see what's happening in their life too. That kind of ties over into divorces as well. if you go to the same site and look for divorce decrees, things like that, you can find a lot of that. If you are also looking, the Florida Bar and Lee County Bar, they publish a journal. They publish like a newsletter where people post, and that's where you'll find a lot of the postings for probate and divorces, or liens. They try to find an obscure paper that they have to publish in. So usually they'll go to the bar, not to the bar with alcohol, the bar for the attorneys, and they'll post things in there. So that's another way that you can find information. Again, it's just a little bit of legwork, but it works really, really, really well. And nowadays, almost everything's online, so you can pay for a subscription to the bar newsletters. They let non-attorneys do that as well. They're all about money, right? Nobody's an attorney here, so we can say that. But they say that about realtors too. We're in it for the money, and that's about all, right? Okay, so I'll leave that there. All right, so we're talking about the death thing. That's about it. How do I unshare, Joanna? Just go back down and hit new share, or just
There's
take it off?
There's a stop sharing button in red at the top of your screen.
There it is. There it is. Sorry, guys. I'm new with all this kind of stuff. There, and I can look at your faces. It's so much more fun than just staring at a screen. Okay, so a lot of the people said, okay, I found a person who's who passed away. They've got real estate. It's something that I might be interested in. Now, what do I do? What do I say? And because it gets kind of weird, you don't want to just go, hey, your friend, your grandmother died. Want to get rid of the house? Yeah, really. Part of it is finding out how far they're along in the probate process too. The biggest thing with working with people who have passed deceased estates and things like that is you've got to really, really be empathetic, be prepared to move very, very slow. It's about building a relationship with the family. Even the money grubbing little kids from up north, at some point they had an emotional attachment to their relative. So the first thing you want to do, you want to offer your condolences in a sincere way. Don't, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. Gosh, we've all lost people that we've loved, or we've lost an animal that we've loved. Tap into that loss and kind of share that feeling with your customer when you're talking to them. And again, you might have two separate groups of people. You've got family members that are suffering, really traumatic because their person died. You're going to have to take a little bit more time with them. That's where you're going to offer a lot of services to them. How can I help you? This can be overwhelming to them because now they've got a whole house full of stuff. It's not just furniture, it's years of memories and photographs and all of this, so they're getting overwhelmed emotionally and then physically. What do I do with all of this? How do I start dismantling this person's life and move on? So if you can have groups of people that can help, we had a great group that did an estate sale for us, offer names of people who can come in and offer to clean it and do the estate sales on that. That usually does really well. If there's things that aren't worth anything, talk to them about, Teen Challenge or Goodwill or someplace that will come physically and pick up the stuff out of the house. You don't want them putting stuff in their cars and having to schlep it along. Our idea, our job is to make it easier for them. And part of it, if they are not in state, and in Florida, a lot of our relatives, the surviving people, are out of state. So you might have to coordinate some of this kind of stuff for them. Again, you're an extension of them. So you're doing that service. One thing that I thought might make some sense to these people that are very emotionally involved is, before we do anything and start taking this apart, why don't you take photos of those special rooms, those things that you had memories with? It's a thought, they may never look at it again, but just say you won't have that opportunity. So why don't you go in and do those photos? If there's something in the house that really means something to them that they want to take, like a special crystal doorknob or a light fixture or a photo album or a special book, encourage them to take those items home with them, remove them first before they even think about selling the house. That helps get their memories with them, and it helps them start on the distancing process. We want to acknowledge and recognize that this is traumatic for them, but our job now is to move them off of that spot and start moving them back to the reality. The personal reps are usually really, really good about that, because they were chosen usually by that person to be the personal rep, because they can balance out the emotions with the practicality of it. Because now the practicality is we have to get rid of the house. The estate, can't afford to keep paying property taxes and electric bills and water bills and all of this kind of stuff. So you want to try to get the house prepared for sale as best as possible. Depending on the circumstances of the death, we might have to help them by getting, unfortunately, it sounds bad, but having cleaning companies come in, either I don't want to call it hazardous waste, but you know what I'm saying, that kind of thing, or just simply cleaners to move those kind of things out. Depending on the state of the house and the estate itself, you might be helping them actually paint it or something to get it ready to sell. Most relatives, when you're talking about someone who's passed, they just want it cleaned up and then move it out without having to take a lot of the estate's money to get it ready to sell. So that's usually what you're going to do. With a vacant house like that, it's easier to do advertising, the way your normal marketing would be, the open houses and things like that. Again, being sensitive to the relatives, because this might still catch them off guard. I mean, I thought, I'm this practical, and when we went to dismantle my mom's, final house, all of a sudden it just smacks you in the face. You're being practical and all that, and then you see somebody else coming in and making a comment on the house. Oh boy, ouch. It can hurt. So you want to encourage them to stay away, just like when we do normal sales, right? Stay away from the open houses, do that kind of thing. The good part for you as a realtor is you've got a very motivated seller, if you will. That estate wants to sell the house quickly. So they're going to price it appropriately, and they're going to listen to you as well. The flip side of all of this is when we're talking about getting it listed, going through the family, there's time involved in that. and you have to find out whether they have to be probated. Where did they die? Did they die in Florida, out Florida, all of that kind of stuff. Probate can be very quick, depending on the size of the estate, or it could take months. So be prepared when you're doing these things that you might be involved with this family in this house for 2 to 4 to I've seen them go as long sometimes as 6 months. So be prepared with that. And we've talked about where to find those leads too, but the obvious thing also is attorneys. Get with attorneys who specialize in probate. Look for that, and they're all over the internet. Other groups, like if you have your SRES designation for senior real estate specialists, there's usually attorneys who are involved in that group as well, because they're planning their estate out early on, so they may have all that put together. And if you're doing your normal geographic prospecting and you're running across people like that who've already started their financial planning, start talking to them about that aspect of it while they're still healthy and they're in your farm area. Financial planners are a phenomenal source of everything. One really cool thing to do, and Merrill Lynch, every year they put together this leather-bound beautiful album for their customers. And what I did is I got together with several financial planners and I said, well, you do this annual state of their assets kind of report every year. What if I provided every single year an evaluation of all of their real estate assets? So every year I gave them a beautiful report that had my name, my photo, my company, my contact information, and it was included in this state of their financial well-being, right? So when they either moved out of their house and went to a facility, or they passed away, those remaining relatives, personal representatives who might not know you are looking and like, oh wow, every year, Dad had a report from J.J. Jones at Jones and Company Realty. They know the house, they know the family already. Let's talk to her first. And then the financial planner can also give you a good reputation, give you a good report. Say, hey, these were really great. I highly recommend them. That's a really awesome way for you to build up that little niche in there. Anybody got a good financial planner that they work with? Good stock person? Yeah, that's really it. And financial planners are key to like absolutely everything, which leads us into divorce, right? When people get divorced, the financial planners are usually the first to know, sometimes before the spouse, because the person who's getting divorced is thinking, okay, what am I going to do financially? They will contact their financial planner and say, okay, now what do we do? How do we start dividing our assets and all of that kind of stuff? So think about getting with those attorney, with those tax accountants, right? Tax accountants, financial planners, they're really good sources for that. We talked before when we were talking about probate and that we were talking about attorneys. Same thing with divorce. There's divorce attorneys like everywhere, right? Get to know them. And you can find them really super easy by Googling, divorce attorneys. Or if you've got friends and things like that have gotten divorced, who did you use? Were they good? Did you like them? And then you say, hey, can you introduce me? Or can I call in? Can I use your name? And introduce yourself to these divorce attorneys. When they're in the beginning of negotiation, how many people have been divorced on the screen? Okay, 3.
Great question.
I love those faces. I'm still on my first marriage. We'll see how number 2 goes.
Because it was so fun. That's what that face was from.
But when you first start getting divorced, that's what you want to think about. Who gets what? What do I get? All of that kind of good stuff, right? And divorce attorneys, that's one of the things that they need to do, is they need to get an idea of what the value of all the assets are. And that's when divorce attorneys start working with the tax accountants, the financial planners. And of course, we want them to think about working with us as well, because we can provide them some basic information about what the properties are worth. Divorce is all about negotiation. At the end of the day, the dissolving of a marriage really becomes financial at the end of it, and it's all about negotiating who gets what is going to be given to us, or what has to be sold that kind of stuff. So you can make friends with the divorce attorneys. They are invaluable. You will get at least 2 deals a year, if not more, from a good divorce attorney if you're good. And the other thing that I love about divorce attorneys is they don't fight with each other, because their whole job is to get that divorce dissolved as quickly as they can in a fair way. So the divorce attorneys often work with each other really, really well. So if you're in the middle of negotiations, you usually have 2 attorneys that are not fighting with each other. They want the husband and wife to agree, get this asset sold so we can finish it. So they tend to be neutral the way that we have to be neutral. And, I know everybody made faces with divorces and stuff. It's emotional, and there's things that are getting designed there. You've got pets maybe that you have to worry about, and you've got kids and things like that. So when you get involved in it from the real estate standpoint, you have to really, really be empathetic, be very thoughtful, be considerate of not only the pets, but the kids and stuff. It's traumatic for them. I mean, you're going to make sure that you do that, be very thoughtful of that, try to be neutral, because you're working for both the husband and the wife, even though one person may pick you, you're working for both. So be prepared to give double presentations too, because the chances are the husband's not talking, the wife's not talking. You're either going to be talking to the attorney or one of them. So you're going to repeat the same thing twice. So think double work when you do all that. But part of it when you're working with, and I'm probably going around, so I'm going to try to do that. But when you're working in the house, in presenting that property, when I'm talking about being thoughtful and considerate, really imagine being a 10-year-old kid and your whole life is just being blown up in front of you. And every day you come home from school and there's a real estate sign in your front yard. That can really impact that child. So maybe when you're doing a divorce listing, you're going to think, maybe we won't put the sign in front of the house. Be a little bit more thoughtful about things like that. You may even want to have some conversations with just the kids in their rooms and stuff. Is there something here that you really want to kind of like take to your new house? Some of the houses have those little walls where everybody measured how they grew through the house, and all of a sudden their house is disappearing. Offer the handyman services to come and take that piece out. Let's move on to the next thing. Those are the kind of things you're going to have to do a little differently as a realtor. It's a listing, but just be a little bit more soft if you want to use that word to get that done. And I would not go out of my way to promoting the idea that it's a divorce sale, because that's all of the bottom feeders and everybody going, oh, divorce, they got to sell it. We can just make any kind of an offer and be nasty about it. Our job is to get the most that we can for our customer, just like a regular sale. So we want to be careful how we promote these properties. Again, it's all about being sensitive. And if you're sensitive and you're really good, those people will tell their other friends who are getting divorced about it. And how do you find divorced people besides divorce attorneys and tax accountants and things like that? Anybody on Instagram or Facebook lately? There's divorce groups, support groups, I hate my spouse groups. I mean, there's some really, really, really cool ways to find these people. Plug yourself in there. Share. If you've been a divorcee before, share. Share there. I've been there. Not. If you're a realtor, you can pop in there and offer those services. I think that's a really good way to do it. You might even host one. There's a TV show with this guy who just got widowed, and he's in a widower support group with all these little ladies, and they all have wine once a week. It's just, I can't think what the name of it is. It's hysterical. But you could offer to host a little support group. It's always a thought. Clerk of the circuit court, which we talked about, that's how you can find it. Get all those things together. You be prepared again for the long haul, because divorce sometimes can take a year or 2 years. I've got one that I'm helping a divorce attorney with. They've been involved in this process for 2.5 years. We started in the beginning, and I gave them the basic information as the 2 attorneys started to get together, and they are still hashing it out and working towards divorce 2.5 years later. They may even end up getting divorced and then still have to go to court to find out when their assets are going to be sold. So be prepared for that long term. Sometimes they're really fast as if nobody has anything to fight over, then it's really easy. And that's the kind I really like. Now, numbers. This is cool. We talked about 3 or 4 of you guys being divorced. Do you know that 1.2 million people in Florida get divorced a year? 1.2 million. And half of those people are first-time marriers. The stats are crazy. So half of those people are our own homes and they're going to sell. If you get into second and third marriages, the stats go up over double.
Jeez.
The more times you marry, the more often you are to get divorced. So you can really get a lot of listings that way. And think about it. If people sell their big house, now you have 2 people who need residences, right? So you may be able to get another sale off of it. You may help them into a rental and then again get another sale off of it. So just off of one divorce listing, you can do 2, 3, or 4 transactions. And again, it's always going to be about referrals when you do that. That's basically what I had to say. And how's that for a half an hour time frame?
Sounds really good.
Did you cover the?
We are really
divorce
open.
designation?
Anybody have any other suggestions or comments, things like that?
Did you cover the divorce designation at all?
Oh, no,
What?
thank you. I knew I was switching screens for something. Okay.
Divorce designation?
Yes. NAR does not offer it, but this is an absolutely phenomenal thing. And if you go to Illumini, it's ILUMNIINSTITUE.com. It's illuminiinstitute.com. They have, and this is the best part, the whole thing. They have a directory. You know how we have CRS has their own little group. They have a whole directory in here of around the country of people that are here. You can search by the state. Now, what I thought was really interesting, let me come down in here. They have it divided up. So Northwest, let's go to Southeast, Southwest, Southeast. Look who's there. Michael Darda.
Oh yeah.
Hey, he's
the
in
king
there.
of DDD.
And I looked up, now I know Jamie Gooding, I have run across her in the realtor events and stuff. She's in Snellville, Georgia. I would look, and this Kaku Mitchell, I'm probably butchering his name. He is in Orlando. He does a lot with Florida realtors. This other gal over here, which you can see, Yasmin Saad, S-A-A-D, she is an agent in Naples. She gets a tremendous amount of business. They've all been highlighted in Florida Realtors in there about it. You could call them, pick on their brains a little bit, say, hey, how has this benefited you to be part of this group? What would you recommend if you're starting to get into the divorce market and that kind of stuff? This designation or this group that you're going to join is not like the $495 CD thing and you get a certificate. This does go into a lot of in-depth education. You've got to do like 40 hours online or in person. You have to do some mentoring. You got to do a lot of stuff. So it really, really is a fantastic certification to have, and they'll refer within. So I would look up some people who are out of state, maybe an area that like here's Akron, Ohio. Call DJ Wiley and talk to her. Find out the benefits of it, and even if you never get it, you may be able to just get some designations. Give me 1 second, and answer your phone when it rings. There we go. So this, I think, it was really phenomenal. I came across this really, really well. For those of you who like take fives, I love this. I want Florida Realtors has a really nice article, and we'll send that over to you as well, about working with divorced couples, all your little 5 points. And there's a little take 5 video right here by a guy, and he's in Orlando. No, he's in Miami area. He has a team. Again, a little take 5, just a reminder about kind of what I've been saying today. On both death and divorce, you've got to be empathetic. understand everything that's going in. They're looking at, they're looking at you for all the advice. You don't have to know everything. You can't know everything because a lot of this is legal and tax related. We are not experts in that. We know where the experts are. And that's what our job is, to be the resource of the resources, right? Get that training we talked about. Number 5, always maintain a thick skin. We're all very emotional people, but we have to understand that when we're the ones standing there and they're lashing out at everybody or they're crying on our shoulders and all of that, it's not about us. Don't take it personally. Stay as neutral as you can. Be empathetic, and then when you're done, then you go in the back room and then you let it all out. But you need to have that little bit of a thick skin, no matter what you're doing with divorce or death. It's a very traumatic thing for people. It's very emotional, and it can be a very lucrative part of your real estate business. When we're talking about 1.2 million in Florida getting divorced, we're talking about 2.5 million people dying each year. These are things that happen. So why not be prepared? Get yourself ready for this. When there is a downturn in real estate, people are still getting divorced, people are still getting married, people are still having babies, people are still dying. And those are opportunities for us as realtors to provide a fantastic service and help people with their lifestyles and make a very nice living for you and your family at the same time. So I encourage you to kind of think out of the box a little bit, invest some time in getting trained, invest some time in getting to know all those different people, getting to know financial planners, getting to know attorneys. That will help you in your business, because again, you can't know everything. And I don't need you to know everything. Just know enough to find the right person so that you can move forward. And if you have any particular questions or war stories and things you want to share later, Coffee with Your Broker is always a really great way to do that. We're always here for you guys. Stay safe, stay dry, be well.
Thank you.